a few definitions here. You will notice that everything is compared with our standard carbon-12. Okay, so the first one is relative isotopic mass. Essentially, that's the mass of the individual isotopes. So the definition for this is the mass of the isotope relative to 1/12 the mass of a carbon-12 atom. Now, 1/12 the mass of carbon-12 is essentially the mass of a single hydrogen atom. But if we look here, chlorine-35, that would be the isotopic mass of this one, and 37 is the isotopic mass of this chlorine. Now, relative atomic mass, the weighted average of the atom of an element on a scale where an atom of carbon-12 is 12. So basically, it's an average. When we say weighted average, as an example, we've got chlorine-35 and chlorine-37. Looking at it at first glance, we might think, well, the average of 35 and 37, halfway between is 36, okay? But we don't use 36 as our average because that's not a weighted average. There are more chlorine-35s than chlorine-37s, okay? 75%, approximately 75% of all chlorine is 35 and 25% is chlorine-37. So it wouldn't be right to have a value exactly halfway between the two. The true relative atomic mass, the true weighted mean or the weighted average is 35.5. And that's where that value comes from, showing us that there is more chlorine-35 than chlorine-37. Relative molecular mass. So this is the average mass of a molecule on a scale where an atom of carbon-12 is 12. So now we're looking at a molecule, for example, Cl2. That's a molecule. So combining two of your molecules together, we can get a value of 35.5 times 2 is 71. Now, we have a term relative molecular mass. We also got a term very similar. It's relative formula mass. So it means the same thing, but for different types of substances. So this would be for giant ionic substances, essentially ionic substances, or for giant covalent substances. Then we can use this term. But it's done the same way. So for example, NaCl, we have 23 for Na and 35.5 for Cl. We add them together, we'll get a value of 58.5. That will be our relative formula mass for sodium chloride.